Good morning. I'm here this morning with Maria from Manulife Travel Insurance, and we are going to be talking about all things travel insurance. Manulife, of course, is a travel insurance policy that I am able to sell as a travel agent, and Maria is here to talk with us today about the importance of having travel insurance, especially in these uncertain times. So, Maria, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here with me today.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Kimberly. It's an honor to be able to address your customers somehow directly, right? Even if it's
Yes.
on video, but it's good for us to leverage all these tools that we have at our disposal to reach a wider audience. Because mainly our role is to educate the clients on the importance of travel insurance, on the importance of being protected when you travel. So I really appreciate the time that you made for me. And yeah, let's hope
Yeah.
that by the end of the session, everybody
Yeah, yeah, just
will
be
be
better
more
informed
educated. Yeah.
and just I have had a couple of blog posts in March and April dealing with travel insurance. Again, just trying to provide information and educate my clients with regard to the importance of travel insurance and some of the differences. So again, we're just going to talk about Manulife and how it relates, and this will just be a wonderful follow-up to those blog posts. So, Maria.
Good.
What makes Manulife premium protection policy stand out from standard travel insurance options available in the market?
This is an amazing question, Kimberly, and especially that the Manulife Premium Protection Plan is a plan that your clients won't be able to find elsewhere. So even if they are going and buying travel or like shopping around, trying to buy travel insurance with other providers, even though those providers are working with Manulife, this premium protection plan will not be available to them from other sources. We have designed this product to be especially marketed and sold through the agency channels, so only travel agents have access to it. And what really sets it apart is that it's designed for how travel works in real life today. Whereas those standard policies that you mentioned, they, I feel sometimes that they have been designed for how we used to travel before COVID, probably. That being said, it's not that those are not good because we know that with the travel, with the premium protection plan, for example, the age limit is 74 years old, right?
Mhm.
So who does not fall under that age category cannot even buy it. And also another eligibility criteria is that the client buys it within 72 hours from the initial booking. So this, it's not a policy on which you can, take your time and think about it. You could take your time and think about it because let's remember Manulife gives all the policies and all the policy holders 10 days free
Mhm.
look, right?
Mhm.
So if the client knows that, okay, it's going to take me a little bit more than 72 hours to assess what else is on the market and to buy the PPP, I don't want to miss that window. Let me put that in place and then I have 10 days to shop around. If I find something better, then
Yeah.
good luck, I'd say. It's going to be very difficult to find something better because, as I was like just coming back to explaining the what sets the PPP apart is that is designed for how travel works in real life today. We can see fuel shortages, all sorts of things that before we haven't even, like we couldn't fathom, right? That we would be talking about things like that when it comes to insurance. So PPP is not just for the best case scenarios when best case scenarios in inverted commas, of course, because it covers anything that's unexpected, unforeseen, right? It doesn't have a specific category or like specific chapters and coverages and benefits like the all-inclusive, for example, where if the client's reason for canceling doesn't fall under those, let's say we have 20 covered events. If it doesn't fall under those 20 covered events, you're simply not covered. Whereas with the PPP, when you read it, you won't be seeing all those covered events with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will just see we cover anything unexpected, unforeseen. So as long as the client can substantiate the claim that they didn't know about what just happened and it affects their trip, then they will be covered. So build around the unexpected, unforeseen, unless something is clearly excluded from the policy. And when we talk about exclusions with the PPP, so in terms of trip cancellation, we have 4 exclusions. In terms of medical emergency coverage in destination, we have 8 exclusions. When you look at any other policy on the market, I can confidently say that the list of exclusions is maybe even longer than the list of inclusions, right? So it's a policy that gives you the most coverage with the less restrictions. So another thing that people don't seem to grasp about the PPP is the pre-existing conditions.
Yes.
So we don't have any pre-existing conditions, requirements, or exclusions with the PPP. If the doctor clears the client to travel and they, I don't know, just had an issue that happened a month ago or even 2 weeks ago, but the doctor said it's okay, they can travel, that's fine. They will be covered in destination. So that's good to remember.
Yes.
And of course, the cancel for any reason. So if by any chance the client's reason for cancellation is a known event, they cannot substantiate or bring proof that they didn't know about it, or let's say the claims examiners would find out that they did know about it, they can always fall back on the cancel for any reason benefit that gives back 80% of the non-refundable insured amount. So it's the best cancel for any reason benefit on the market. Clients can cancel up to 7 days prior to departure. They get back 80%. And then if they cancel 6 days to 24 hours prior to departure, it's still at 80%, but the policy caps it at 2,500 insured amount. So yeah, I think PPP is the way to go. If the clients want to be traveling with the best peace of mind, let's put it like that, they should go, they should consider taking the PPP.
Absolutely. And for my clients, I really feel like peace of mind is so important, especially with all the uncertainty, in the world these days. And that's a theme that I hear repeated over and over again and whatnot. So yes, Manulife Premium Protection Policy offers so much, and I'm so glad I can offer it to my clients. The other question I get is, do I really need travel insurance? And they say, but I've already got coverage through my credit card or my employer group benefits. So, what do you say to those clients who feel they already have enough coverage? And then I'll tell you a little personal story afterwards.
Okay, yes. I bet all of us have a little personal, these little personal stories when it comes to credit card. I don't want to say that the credit card insurance is bad. God forbid. It's good to have. The more insured you are, the better chances are that you are not going to be caught off guard if something happens, right? But the credit card insurance is very limited. So it's a very common concern, and it's completely understandable that the client says, oh, I already have it on the credit card. But many people just go about assuming that the credit card coverage is going to cover them for anything. And going by, the plan's name is all inclusive. Oh, you're going to be covered for everything. No, there's always exclusions, and you have to be aware of what you're buying. So credit card coverage or employer coverage, we'll get to that. But credit card coverage is simply not enough. When they review the details, and the best way to know is to compare, right? It is a little bit of a time investment, but come on, after having invested 5,000 or 10,000, or now we have seen trips that go up to 30,000 or even more. After having invested that much in a trip, investing 10, 15 minutes extra into really understanding the coverage that you have, it's very important. So credit card is limited to sometimes 1,500 per traveler. Sometimes I've seen the best ones going up to 5,000 per traveler. But then it's only the primary traveler, it's not the family. You have to buy and to pay the entire amount of your trip on that credit card. So you cannot use several credit cards
Mhm.
and expect that one credit card will
Right.
cover your cash
Mhm.
payments. And then when it comes to the employer coverage, it's only medical. Very
Mhm.
rarely have I seen maybe one or two unions
Mhm.
that used to give, and people that have grandfathered some sort of
Mhm.
very old types of coverages with the employer that give cancellation. But when somebody comes and says, I have insurance through the employer, I don't need insurance,
Mhm.
I would advise those clients to call their provider and to ask, am I covered for cancellation?
Mhm.
The answer in 99% of the cases would be no. You are covered for medical insurance in destination, and that's it. So, very strict coverage limits, strict eligibility rules, age restrictions, very restrictive in terms of pre-existing medical conditions.
Mhm.
They don't include the cancel for any reason. So taking the time to explain to the customers the differences, that would be very welcome, right? It will help them understand that, yes, it's amazing I have this, but there are gaps. There's
Mhm.
always something that that other plan doesn't cover.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I will just tell you that little personal story. My daughter, a couple of years ago, went to Africa and did a safari. And her employer was in the process of switching benefits providers. And I mean, this safari was booked a year before the actual trip. And then the switch of the benefit providers occurred. And unfortunately, hers was one of the files that got lost in the transfer between the old provider and the new provider. So
Oh,
she
wow.
basically had no coverage. She spent at least a month to 6 weeks prior to her trip trying to sort that out, trying to make sure that she had coverage through her employer. Fortunately, when she made the deposit on her trip, she and I talked about it. And I said, I really think this is a substantial investment. I really think you need to make sure you get a Manulife PPP policy because, your grandparents are elderly. What if something happened? This is a whole year away. And she did purchase the PPP. And as it was, that was the only insurance she had when she went to Botswana for this safari because her employer the benefit provider had lost her file and
Oh
she
my
was even
God.
having to pay prescriptions out of pocket because they wouldn't cover anything while her file was lost. So,
Oh,
and
wow.
again, when you talk about travel insurance covering the unforeseen and the unknown, I mean, that is just a bizarre example, I admit, but things happen.
I can only imagine like how many other people could have been, in the same situation, and you're there and you're not even aware that
Mhm.
this has happened. You just think like, okay, in the background they're doing the switch, everything is fine.
I know.
And in the end, you end up not being covered.
Exactly.
I can't even imagine, being somewhere in Africa, being sick,
Yes.
calling the assistance center of
Hmm.
the benefits and saying
Yes.
like, "Oh, I don't know we don't know who you are. You don't have a
Yes.
file here with us." Oh my God.
I
It just
know.
gives me a little bit
I
of goosebumps.
I know. I know. I was just so glad that she had purchased that policy at the time that she made the deposit on the safari because, it could have been disastrous, when the time came. And as, we've already said, it's the unknown and the unforeseen. And that was certainly the case here.
And
So,
lots of people just tend to think it's not going to happen to me.
no.
Nothing's going to happen to me. It's
Yes.
going to be fine. That's ideal. And
Yes.
hopefully nothing's going to happen to anybody.
Yeah.
But I like from my experience, and I have been working in insurance since 2012, so that's like how many years? 14 years now.
Hmm.
Um, it always happens when you're not insured, when you
That's right.
forget to buy that policy,
That's right.
that's when the unexpected happens.
Hmm.
And regrets are just, it's too late
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
to
Yep.
buy insurance after you're, let's say, scratching the car. Nobody's gonna insure you, right?
No,
Or
that's
buying
right.
insurance for your house once you know that the roof is leaking. That,
No,
again, you can't do.
no.
So the same with travel insurance. You
Hmm.
have to buy it as soon as you're planning the trip, as soon as the money has left your pocket, right?
Hmm.
Because it's a
Hmm.
big investment
Yes.
and it's at risk. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it is. And as you've already mentioned, just with the price of trips going up, it's really important to ensure that investment in your vacation plans. So,
Yeah.
um, when you've already mentioned this in passing, but the process for making a claim when traveling abroad, how simple is that with Manulife, and how are they supported during a medical emergency or an unexpected trip disruption?
For sure. So we do have an emergency medical center. It's 24/7. They have, so each policy gives the client a phone number where they need to call as soon as something doesn't go as expected or something's wrong, right? It's again not a time to wait and see. It's the time to pick up the phone and call as soon as something happens. Don't call your travel agent. That's one of my pieces of advice because they might be on holiday, they might be having dinner, and there's nothing they can do to help. I've seen a lot of clients, or also talked to a lot of agents who are saying like the clients call me first, and then I'd have to tell them call emergency medical. The emergency medical center is there to help the clients, not to hinder. Some clients might think, oh, by the time I get through to them and tell them, what's happening, I just, jump in a taxi and go to the clinic. But we do offer this travel aid. So we have an app. They can start, if they don't have a phone, they can start the claim by using the app. They can download the app before leaving, right? So that they
Mhm.
don't incur charges somewhere abroad, or call the number. And when they call the number, there will be a triage
Mhm.
that will happen. And if you are in, let's say you have an ear infection and you are in a resort, you don't need to jump into a taxi and go to a clinic because we might decide it's better for us to send the doctor to your room so that they see what's happening, they prescribe some antibiotics or
Mhm.
drops or something, and you just don't even need to leave the resort. So yeah, contacting the assistance center immediately is it's good. We have trained professionals that help guide the clients to the appropriate medical care, coordinate the treatment, arrange payments
Mhm.
whenever and wherever possible. So they
Mhm.
don't have to pay out of pocket. Just, imagine being in a clinic where you have to pay like $5,000 out of the blue
Mhm.
for something, right?
Exactly.
If you had called Manulife before, we arrange direct billing, direct payment every time we can. And let's not forget what also we have the flight assist. So
Yes.
that's something that we don't necessarily need to put the claim through.
Mhm.
The clients can register their flights, and my advice would be for them to register the flights when they do the online check-in. So in the
Right.
morning, not
Okay.
to do it before when they buy the policy. Sometimes, as you say, it's like 2, 3 months.
Mhm.
Sometimes now I've seen policies purchased 2 years in advance.
Yes.
Um, don't register the flights right then because we
Mhm.
know that airlines are going to send you like if your flight has been like it's another number, it's
Yeah.
another hour, one half an hour here there. So if you do that beforehand, you'd have to go back and always update. So keep in mind, put a reminder in your phone saying, don't forget to register your flights when you do the online check-in. And then if the flights are registered with us and the client has a 3 hours delay, they will be getting $40 immediately deposited in their bank account. They just get a message on their phone saying your flight has been delayed. Here's $40. If it's delayed for 6 hours or even canceled, there's another $100 that comes through. A family of, four people, they get
Mhm.
$540 if their flights
Yeah.
are delayed for 6 hours.
Hmm.
Then it doesn't hurt that much if you need to go and have dinner in the
That's right.
airport, right?
That's right. No,
Yeah,
it
or
makes a big difference to travelers when they can register their flights through the Flight Assist with Manulife. That's for
yeah.
sure.
So
And
a lot of clients love it. Yeah.
yeah, and I
So
send my clients a notice, an email telling them it's time to, check in online for your flight. And when they purchase the Manulife PPP, and I believe the all-inclusive, does it?
all of them have it. Yeah.
Yes,
All
all,
policies
yeah.
that include cancellation insurance also include the flight
Yeah,
assist.
yeah. So I remind them if they've purchased Manulife insurance that, now's also the time to register your flights and whatnot. So that helps my clients tremendously as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great aspect of Manulife insurance. Um, Pre-existing conditions. Now, I know in one of my blogs I talked about what is a pre-existing condition, and I know that varies with the policy. But just to remind my clients and anybody who's seeing this, how can a client's eligibility and coverage be affected if they have a pre-existing coverage, sorry, pre-existing condition, but it hasn't gone through that medical assessment when they purchased an insurance policy. What makes Manulife PPP different with regard to that?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, pre-existing conditions, obviously, there are a lot of restrictions with a lot of the policies, not only with Manulife, but everybody on the market has these restrictions. And usually it's 3 months, right? So
Mhm.
for a standard policy, 3 months before your departure date, you have to be stable for those conditions to be covered while in destination. There's also a rate B or C, right? If somebody has gone through the medical
Mhm.
question and responded to those questions and had to say yes to one of those medical questions, they might be a rate B and C. That, of course, means that they will have to pay a little bit more for that coverage, and they will have to be stable for 6 months.
Mhm.
So that's the standard policies. With the PPP, there's nothing like that.
Yes.
It's just if your doctor cleared you to travel, you're covered. It doesn't matter if your condition has not been stable for the last 3 months. Um, of course, it's important for them to know that if it's something expected, right, then might not be covered. So all the time, when you look at what's covered, you also need to look at the exclusions and make sure that none of the exclusions apply to you. If
Mhm.
none of the exclusions apply, which in terms of medical in PPP we have 8 exclusions, then you're covered. So there's nothing that we can say
Mhm.
and not cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so PPP is the best for people with pre-existing conditions.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And up to that age of 74.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they are over the age of 74, they can go with the all-inclusive.
Mhm.
The all-inclusive doesn't require a medical questionnaire, but everybody over the age of 75 will have a 12-month stability requirement, which
Right.
is quite a long time if
It
you're
is.
asking me, especially at that age.
Yeah.
But then we also have another alternative but there's a lot of people that are very, very healthy at that age. So
Yes.
they
Mhm.
will be 3 months, sorry, 12 months stability. They haven't had anything, so they're fine with that.
Mhm.
If there's any client that does have a pre-existing condition that manifested itself during the last 12 months, if they are over 74, I would say the MUPS, so the medical underwriting program, is the best. They will have to call Manulife. They go through an assessment, and then they are covered for even for conditions that happened yesterday.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
We have alternatives.
Ex-
Everybody
Yes.
can travel with peace of mind.
Yeah.
The only point is buy some insurance. Don't
Mhm.
travel without.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. And just so people are aware too, with the pre-existing conditions and the stability period, sometimes even just a prescription change can affect that stability period. And clients aren't always aware of that. And that may affect which type of policy they want and are able to
exactly.
purchase. So,
Exactly. So it would be good for advisors and travel agents all the time to ask, do you have any pre-existing conditions? And also, did they manifest themselves, recently? Clients will be tempted to say, no, I don't have anything. But when you go through the actual questions, they realize, oh, yes, I do take medication for high blood pressure, or I have a stent,
mhm,
things like that. But the point is, they have to read the stable definition. So in each of the policies, we have a definition of the word stable.
mhm,
So when you read the definition of the word stable and you see what are we looking, what do we consider stable, what is considered unstable, that would make it clearer for them if it applies to their case or not.
mhm,
Yeah, so
mhm.
changing medication, even that's interesting. Sometimes, even not sometimes, all the time, even if your dosage goes down,
Yes.
right? Because you would say, okay, I have high blood pressure. I'm taking, I don't know,
Mhm.
3 medications. The doctor said, oh, you're going better. You only need to take 2.
Yeah.
Taking away one of that medications might have implications, like 2, 3 months down the road, my body can say, oh, okay, we really needed that. We need
Yeah.
that back,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
going down, most people say, oh, my dosage has decreased. It means I'm better. That shouldn't affect my insurance.
No,
But yeah, it does.
it
And
does. Yeah.
it all comes down to being informed and knowing what you're
Exactly.
buying.
Yes, exactly. And today has just been absolutely wonderful, Maria. You have shed light on so many issues that clients bump up against when they are purchasing travel insurance. And honestly, some of the objections that my clients present to me for not purchasing travel insurance. So it has been wonderful. I truly
Thank you.
appreciate you spending this time with me. And yeah, I just want all my clients to make sure that they are purchasing travel insurance. So that's wonderful. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, Kimberly. I would love that all the agents that I manage would put the time that you put into it. We have very engaged ones and we have ones that, are a little bit afraid because it does seem like a very complicated subject. But I promise you and the other agents and the whole, community of travelers, if you take the time to read it,
Mhm.
it's going to become clearer. And being informed and taking informed decisions in today's world when we are bombarded with information from all angles, it's the best that we can do for ourselves.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.